Welcome back. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be the first foreign leader to meet with Donald Trump when he visits the White House tomorrow. He's already in Washington meeting with President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, with the focus now turning to the second phase of the ceasefire with Hamas. Since that ceasefire agreement came into effect on the 19th of January, a total of 18 Israeli hostages have been released. That leaves 79 still unaccounted for, although only 44 are believed to be still alive, according to the Israeli side. There are emotional reunions on the other side too. These pictures today of 30-year-old twin brothers reunited in Gaza after 15 months of separation and destruction. The pair from northern Gaza were split up early in the conflict, one brother travelling to the south, the other staying in the north. The family home in Jabalia, as you can see there, now in ruins. Before leaving Israel, Mr. Netanyahu gave us some idea of what he would be discussing with President Trump on Tuesday.
This meeting will deal with important issues, critical issues facing Israel and our region. A victory over Hamas, achieving the release of all our hostages, and dealing with the Iranian terror axis and all its components, an axis that threatens the peace of Israel, the Middle East, and the entire world.
Well, let's break that down with Jonathan Conricus. He is the Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies and a former spokesperson for the Israeli Defence Forces. Always good to have you on the programme. Thanks for coming back. What does Benjamin Netanyahu want from Donald Trump when it comes to phase 2 of this agreement?
That's a very good question, and it depends on which perspective we look at it. There's an Israeli political aspect to it, and then there's the many fronts that Israel is busy fighting various wars. I think that the most important thing currently is to bring back hostages, and I think that will be top priority. But and I think this is very difficult for people around the world to understand, but Israel is still effectively at war. We're in limbo. We're kind of in this situation where it's neither really war, but it's definitely not safe to go back to homes in the communities that were ravaged by Hamas along the Gaza border, or communities that were destroyed by Hezbollah in the north. And Israelis are still in this in-between situation, and of course waiting, anticipating and praying for hostages to come home. So it's this in-between situation, and it makes it very complex. But I think what Prime Minister Netanyahu would want to achieve is a deal that allows Israel at least to get more hostages back. I think there's a lot of people who don't think that we will see all of the hostages released by Hamas because they will refuse to release the last ones, because that is the leverage that Hamas will keep.
The Arab nations released a statement last week rejecting President Trump's proposal that Palestinians in the Strip be relocated to Egypt and Jordan. That seems like a non-starter for the Arab states, at least. How do you think President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu see it?
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing would be if we could really ask Palestinians. And as an Israeli, I feel sad for many Palestinians who have been used for decades by their Arab brothers as nothing more than a tool to fight Israel. And, you know, I think that, of course, you don't want to tell anybody where he can or cannot leave as a human. And I understand that this generates a lot of friction. But I can also see the positive sides, especially short and midterm, for the rebuilding of Gaza without people in it being rebuilt, and then for people to return. But I think even if it is,
but there wouldn't be any trust in that, would there, Jonathan? I mean, you know the situation on the ground. There are tens of thousands clamouring to get back to the north, so there would be no trust in that process.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right, and I think that eventually it won't happen, even though it could be a good thing, and it could bring prosperity, and it could bring good future for Palestinians. But I don't think it will happen, because that has never been the real priority, not of Arab states and not of many UN organizations.
Okay.
It has been to keep the fight alive between Israel and Palestinians, and they unfortunately are the tools.
Well, as you suggest, the fight is still alive, and there has been a concession, according to one source at least, the Wall Street Journal reporting tonight, that the Trump administration has agreed to a $1 billion aid package, $1 billion of arms sales to Israel, which brings me to Iran. The reporting is that Iran has been refining uranium to 60%, 90% required for a bomb, but they're advancing quickly, probably because they don't have a proxy now in the region that can reach into Israel, and they're feeling vulnerable. How urgent do you think this Iran question is?
Very. The weapons that you discussed, they're not meant for Iran. Those are close range, and it's more the kind of work that we have to do with Hezbollah, Hamas, and other Palestinian terrorist organizations. When we deal with Iran, it's bigger ordnance, and it's definitely not D9 bulldozers that are part of this current deal.
Right.
Iran is a threat and a menace, and I think that what they are doing, being cunning and clever, is they're playing a double game here. On one hand, they are flexing their military capabilities. They recently exposed a new missile depot underground close to the coast, where they have hundreds, if not thousands, of missiles stocked and ready, as they say, to fire towards Israel and towards maritime shipping in the Persian or Arabian Gulf. And on the other hand, they are signaling across the board to the US and to the European countries that they want to negotiate. And I think that what they're
Does
trying
Netanyahu
to do is,
want to negotiate?
I don't think so. I think Israel is beyond negotiating with Iran. And I think Israel understands that negotiations have brought us this far.
So on that question then,
weapons.
Sorry to push you, I just want to get a thought from you. So on that question, the two issues we've discussed, Gaza and the continuation of the ceasefire, and the Iran question, it seems to me that Donald Trump is looking at negotiation, and yet Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to continue the war. What happens to the relationship if they divide on those two issues?
It's difficult to know if that really is what the two leaders want. I agree with what you say, but I'm not entirely sure that it's correct. And it could be that President Trump is using Israel as the stick in order to get what he wants from Iran. And he keeps saying that, it would be nice if this conflict was resolved without the Israelis striking in Iran. We're in the negotiation stage. I think that we're talking about two politicians that are very flexible, very experienced, and I think that they will find ways to find common ground, because I think that Israel and the US share a lot of interest and common ground here. And I think that those will be found. What we do share with Saudi and with many other countries in the region is a very real fear of Iran going nuclear. If Iran does that, then that is a seismic shift in the Middle East. It will have global ramifications. I don't want to see that reality happen, and I don't think that most people in the Middle East want to. And I think Israel will do a lot in order to stop that from happening.
Just a final thought on really the unanswered question within Phase 2, and that is who controls Gaza. We've seen from the return of the hostages just how many Hamas fighters are still there, still controlling the streets. What is the solution to that? Who would Israel like to see controlling Gaza if it's not Hamas?
Yeah. In war, you try to locate the center of gravity of your enemy, and then you strike it until the enemy folds or surrenders. Israel hasn't done that. Humanitarian aid is used by Hamas as a way of controlling the population. And as long as they, Hamas, have access to that, and as long as Israel doesn't disrupt that from the hands of Hamas, not from the population, but from the hands of Hamas, Hamas will remain in power in Gaza. And it's a matter of deciding for Israel if it really wants to do that, and if it really wants to get rid of Hamas. There is a way to get it done, but there's a military and diplomatic price to pay. So far, Israel hasn't done that for various political and some military reasons. I think the day after in Gaza, if Hamas is there, then we will continue to see the horrible sights that we're probably seeing on the screen now of destruction, of rubble, and of people suffering, which is not something that we want, and it's not something that most Palestinians want. But that is what is in store if Hamas remains in power.
Some very complex issues to get to grips with in this Phase 2 of the negotiation. Jonathan Conricus, thank you for coming on.